Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with your other host
Tristan Walter.
Why are you laughing?
Because I was going to go into this heroic monologue about how I was the warrior of righteousness, but
that failed, clearly. Dead on arrival, I see.
Yes, just like my mission to get back to the past. It's been 100 years.
Samurai Walter. Walter. That doesn't fucking work. So okay. I don't know if I was this enthusiastic about season 1 because there were some lulls in season 1, I think. But my fucking God, season 2, like there were some things that because there were some things that I'm going to complain about on the show. But, there are things that are just dated. Just like with season 1 a little bit. Right? There are just some things that are dated. And you know this, Tristan. You and I both know that there's some things that are definitely dated because the show came out in like 2002. And right now we're doing the show in 2017. But point is that, despite the stuff that's like, okay, well, it's hard to say despite the stuff that's dated because, some people can obviously take offense to it. You're allowed to take offense to it. But other than me mentioning that, I can't really sit back and go, oh, this was bad. This was like, it was just a constant stream of good. Now I'm going to, maybe say, oh, maybe I didn't enjoy this episode potentially. But like thinking back, like, even the Farting Dragon episode. Like, when I heard Jack and the Farting Dragon, I imagined a dragon being like, oh, how are you? Like, I'm a farting dragon. Yay. Like, I didn't actually – no, like, that's what I expected because we've had monsters in the past be like, oh, hi, and then, like, teach Jack how to jump good and shit. So I expected –
that was amazing and –
No, it was, but point is that we've had monsters in the past that have been like happy-go-lucky, some that haven't been, some that have been enslaved. Oh, Jesus. But still, I didn't know, like, when the thing, too, is, and you noted this, Tristan, when, to me, like, before the show, you were telling me that, obviously, when the episodes aired, they did not have titles.
Yeah.
So not only did you not know what was coming, but you couldn't be, I guess, spoiled, not in like a, oh, spoiler alert way, spoiled like just it's bad, right? Because I would argue that while these episode names, some of them are very funny, some of them just kind of like a little awkward, like Jack and the Farting Dragon or like Jack is naked, and you're like, what? And then, you watch the episode and you're like, okay, this is obviously very funny. The Farting Dragon is not meant to be funny at all. And I was really confused by that. I mean, parts of it were obviously, but like other parts I was just like, oh, this is like serious. We're being very serious here. So, I feel like the episode titles in a way take away from the episodes. How do you feel, Tristan?
I mean, some of them are a little odd, yes. Granted, I probably wouldn't be as hyped if I saw the episode title Jack and the Farting Dragon.
Right, if anyone's wondering, like, wait, what do you mean the episode titles weren't with the episode? Well, just funny story. Remember, if anyone doesn't remember or wasn't, we might have some younger fans listening in, back in 2002 when this came out, you didn't have episode guides the way you do now. Like, you actually had to go to a channel. I believe for me it was channel 51 or 55. You had to go to a channel to then click. Not to click. Sorry, just turn channel. And then wait for your channel to come up. So it would scroll through channels and then go, oh, okay, that's on Cartoon Network. All right. And you'd only see it for the next, maybe hour. Now I can check up what's going on Toonami, 2 weeks from now.
Right.
And all of my other channels. That's crazy. Having, you don't think about the fact that you have, an actual guide that's digital until you're just like, oh, wait a minute. That's right. We used to have to, click onto go onto a channel just to see what's on the other channels. Or you subscribe to TV Guide, which, you'd get the TV Guide come in and you'd be like, oh, hey, I guess this is on this month or, it was crazy. Right. the fucking fact that so that's why like they didn't they at least to you and I we didn't see the episode titles because we had no. Cause I even think with the channel scrolling up and down, obviously they're not going to sit there and be like Samurai Jack. Here's the name. No, it's like Kid Samurai Jack airing. That's all the fuck you need to know.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. So, you know, these names never came up. Just like you see when you watch the episodes, the title and the title being not title, the list being like, oh, episode 10, episode 12, episode 13. And what's interesting too is that they don't stop for season; they just keep going.
Yeah.
Which I find intriguing because you would normally think, oh yeah, you'd pause for a season or whatever, but it seems as if, in a way, these episodes have just been made like with a steady stream, kind of foregoing the idea of a season finale. Do you see what I mean there?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
and I kind of like it better that way, honestly. It just feels like a at least for this, it just feels like a continuing story. Like each one doesn't necessarily have to lead into the other one, and there's not. I mean, you know, other series, I do like the idea of like an overarching plot for like a season, and then when it's over, like that's the finale to that plot. But this is just each episode is kind of its own little adventure, but it's the series as a whole is more telling just Jack's journeys through the past to just get home.
Yes, and I definitely enjoy that because I complained, and this is definitely a complaint, last podcast we did about Samurai Jack where I said, oh, you know, season 1, the ending, the season finale was kind of weak in terms of being a season finale. Now, I'd argue this one was stronger, a lot stronger. In fact, like if it ended here, I'd be like, that would be an amazing end. Like if it got canceled for some odd reason with season 1, I feel like you'd sit back and go, man, that was a good show. But you wouldn't really, you'd be like, all right, I'm moving on. Right? But ending at season 2, I feel like it'd be like, how could this have been canceled? Like there'd be a lot of anger and ire.
Yeah.
Because not just because of getting the whole season, but just that season finale really revved me up more than season 1's finale did. So, but still, I feel like the way, you know, season 1's finale worked, and seeing the fact that, you know, every single episode ends with, no matter what episode it is, doesn't say season 1, season 2, it just says, hey, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You know, I do wonder if they just kind of made it, at least at this point looking at it, because again, I haven't seen season 3 and season 4. Looking at it, they just made it without the idea of like, oh yeah, no, this is a finale. Like, yeah, we're not airing anymore after this until next year or 6 months from now, or whatever the release schedule would be. But we're not going to sit there and go, and then this is the final this, or this is the final that. Because I could argue that, you know, if you stopped watching Jack after a bunch of episodes, it would still be like intense, like finale-like. Like episode 10 of this season, which was, I want to make sure I get the name right. Yeah, Jack versus Damongo. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, Damongo is intense. Also, by the way, demon's in his fucking name. Just putting that out there. But Damongo is intense.
It's pronounced Demon Go? No.
Who's Demon a Go-Go, baby?
God damn it.
So, yeah, even Jack and the Monks was like so intense. I'd be like, that could be a season finale. Jack Remembers the Past, I think, was Jack and 300. Jack and the Hunters.
Yes.
Or where was it? Yes, Jack and the Hunters. Yes, Jack and the Hunters. It's, oh my God, like Jack and the Smack Bag. Just the name. Just the name. Yeah. Oh, I will say, though, Jack Learns to Jump Good was a nice way to kind of get people back into it, I think.
Yeah.
Because, like, you don't want to have something too crazy, because then, like, I mean, I guess maybe you could have put, like, Smack Back first to kind of really, like, get people going crazy. But I think that, you know, it was nice to ease them in. Because, again, there's no overarching plot. So it's nice to ease them in with, like, you know, something like, you know, Jack learns how to jump good. You know, like, that's just the plot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because while Jack is, what I like too about it is that it was definitely very reminiscent of the first season, where the first episode he's learning from all these masters, but none of them taught him how to jump good, Tristan.
Well, you can only prepare for so much, Matt.
Right? You can only prepare for so much in the past. But thankfully in the future they know how to jump good. My God. So, yeah. So
I mean, you could argue it's only physically possible for a human to jump so high in the air, but whatever.
And that's why Jack was training with that, with those beings to try to transition to break human, because it's a cartoon and he's Jack.
He was training with. I mean, they would be considered apes, yes. At least they look like apes
right.
to me.
I said beings because they were humanoid, so I was like beings.
Yeah. I mean, they make it like. A tribe of apes adopts kind of like a Tarzan situation where they adopt a little kid, and he grows up with them, so he learns how to walk like them and move around the the forest and the jungle how they do. So
fair point.
In the essence of jump good. I've never seen a man jump like you do. Tribe teach me.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Chris Ricciardi. I think it's Ricciardi. Now, I'm a fan of Chris Ricciardi, who is actually one of the writers on the show, because looking at season 1, he wrote Jack, the Woolies, and the Critcholites, right? He wrote it with Chris Mitchell, but he still wrote part of it. Chris Ricciardi also wrote part of Jack Under the Sea, and he also wrote Jack and the Gangsters. Now this guy comes back with Jack and the Smackback.
I knew you would love that episode.
Yeah. Even Jack and the Farting Dragon he came up with, and I was like, oh, wow, huh? It's interesting. And then Jack is naked, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I want to talk to this dude. And I know it's funny. Tristan knows that I would like Jack and the Smackback because of the fact that, we do pro wrestling podcasts on the show. Not Tristan and I, but myself and Satish Ram. We're actually doing one this Sunday for WWE Fastlane, actually. So that'll be our Sunday pay-per-view. We'll be doing post-pay-per-view at 11:30, just kind of talking about what happened during the review, as we always do. So, yeah, Tristan's looking at this. Even though Tristan has barely seen any pro wrestling, I've shown certain things to him, so he kind of watches certain things now, and he's like, "That's a pro wrestling thing." Where before,
the Smackback,
I feel like you. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Tristan. I think you might remember, although probably not. There's a show called SmackDown.
Yes.
So even just Smackback in my head, I'm like, wait. Because obviously the way they were trying to go for a Coliseum thing, not a pro wrestling thing. But then you have the first dude that fights Jack, and he's like, "All right, so let me tell you something." And I'm like, this is the Macho Man impression. I was so mad. I was like, this is a Macho Man impression.
Macho Man, Alien Savage?
Yes, Macho Man, Alien Savage. I think my favorite thing now, not only looking at his past matches, rest in peace, but the seeing the Macho Man Randy Savage memes that come up, and I think you've seen them. I'm pretty sure you've seen them, where it's just be or he's kind of sitting on a rock, and he looks majestic, and it's like, so beautiful, yet so savage. And so, but anyway, so I really liked that episode. I did. But I don't think it was my favorite. I think Jack versus the Mongo might be my favorite. And the reason why, and I'm still looking through, I don't know, let me see which one was better. But I think it might be my favorite, simply because of the fact that it basically was a Power Rangers episode. Now, you might be like, you might be a little confused, Tristan.
Okay.
Let me tell you why it was.
I'll bite.
See,
why,
Matt?
Why is it connected to Power Rangers?
Because every once in a while in Power Rangers, after you have not every single model that they had in this, the souls that he had, not every single model was used before, but I know some of them were. It felt, right? I'm pretty sure we've seen some of those models used in the show before. So it felt very much like Jack defeats villain, or villain shows up in the show, and then villain comes back later, somewhat weakened because Jack could still destroy them, but they're undead ghosts, in a way. So, like, that happens in Power Rangers a lot where it's like, oh, you think you've defeated these few, but now they're back. But because they're, like, it usually happens in anniversary specials where they'll bring back past villains, and they'll be weakened so you can beat them easier, but they're still in numbers, like hordes of them. So Jack, in my opinion, and maybe he just makes it look easy, could easily beat all of those guys, but they're undead ghosts, so they keep on returning. Or at least they're, you know, souls. So, like, obviously keep on. The reason why I mention them, like, as ghosts, though, is because this is actually something that this might connect to a little bit easier for you. And I really hope you saw the connection, or at least you'll see it now. This reminds me a lot of the Dragon Ball Z OVA, Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans.
Yeah.
Because literally it's like they're basically, in essence, ghosts. I know it's like, oh, they're essence, but you can't say souls. Or I think did he say souls?
No, he said their essence.
Yeah, because you can't say
it's more
souls.
the warrior's spirit, yeah.
Yes.
But, yeah, spirit, a soul, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he has, you know, and it's very interesting because if none of you have seen Dragon Ball Z, the Plan to Eradicate the Super Saiyans, or the Saiyans, because there was a remake called Super Saiyans, basically what it is it was it was actually a VHS anime special made just to go coincide this video game that came out at the time, which was in the early 90s. And because it was a very strange video game, so it didn't, you know, obviously back then you can have cutscenes, like crazy cutscenes. So it depends on what system it was released on, though, but most didn't. So they put it on 2 VHS tapes. And it never came to America, so that's why if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, you might be like, I've never heard of this. The remake, Plan to Eradicate the Super Saiyans, actually came out on the Raging Burst 2 disc. So you could find, if you have Raging Burst 2, I'm pretty sure you can find it subbed on one of the discs. Anyway, the thing came with a second disc. Anyway, so basically it's, hey, the villains are being brought back due to their rage and anger. And that's a little bit different here. But when they're brought back, they kind of look like these ghosts, and then they can easily be destroyed because the Z Fighters are so strong now, but they can't die.
Yeah.
So what they have to do is they have to destroy the machines that are summoning them, because it's obviously the source of their power. Now, I'm not saying this is so new that it's like, oh, it has to be a reference, but it is kind of funny, though.
Yeah.
Where, you know, clearly parts of this show are inspired by anime. Other things, of course, you know, in Japanese culture, but there's certain things here and there, and I'm just like, yeah, you guys are watching some anime. Like, yeah. I'm like,
maybe you
guys, maybe a little bit, right? Just a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. Now, here's something, and I don't know if you noticed this, because I know you don't watch a lot of cartoons, at least, like, newer stuff, right? So, like, I've watched, like, Steven Universe and Gravity Falls, and heck, even in the 90s, you know, when you think of, like, Batman animated series and stuff like that, and but what you do know, right? You do know, obviously, that like something like 4Kids bringing over Yu-Gi-Oh, they really had to censor a lot.
Yeah.
Even with One Piece.
A lot.
Yeah. Even with One Piece. Even with when Dragon Ball Z Kai, which was aired on Nicktoons, which is a cable channel, when it was aired on Channel 11 for us, which was Pix, you know, WB, Kids WB, whatever, you know, CW, whatever your affiliate is for it. Point is that when it was aired there, they also had to change certain things too because of FCC standards and practices. So even though Cartoon Network is not a network show, even though network is the name, it's actually a cable show, so you have a little bit more leeway. Still, I was really shocked with the amount of guns that they used. With there was no blood, but like when Jack got scratched, it was like a bloody scratch. No blood,
right?
Which I assume was like a loophole. Oh, can't bleed, but it can be a bloody scratch because it's 2D. Like it's really cheap, like cheaper aside on like animation. So it's like, oh, but it has to be red. What color is it going to be? So I feel like they can get away with it that way.
If we made it anything else, then it'd be weird. It's like we don't want to confuse anyone. Jack is human. Even though it was like, oh, robots can do anything to each other, I still feel like robots eating each other alive is still pretty fucking intense. Sorry, I'm fucking sorry. I think that's going a little bit too far, and that's me talking. And I've read some crazy manga, right? Like, I've read pretty much every single thing Junji Ito has ever released, and even I'm just like, nah, that's bad.
My point is,
I think when
yeah.
I saw it as a kid, that episode, Jack Tales with the metal robots, as soon as you figured out, like, when you found out, oh, these guys are robots, I'm like, what the fuck?
Understandably so, Tristan. But were you shocked that they just got away with more overall?
I mean, I don't really think that they've done anything in Samurai Jack that I ever thought was out of the question for a kid's cartoon.
Well,
anything that I watched, or just the robots eating each other. Like, when you put it that way, it makes it seem a little bit more. But nothing that felt surprising or out of place or whoa, that got really okay.
Oh, well, the reason why I say it, and maybe it's because you watch, that's what I was saying, you watch more anime, so for you, you're just what, this is normal, right? But,
no, I mean,
the reason why
I watched my share of cartoons back in the day.
But back in the day, I meant nowadays.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
compared to the stuff that can't, because you have to understand, you can't have guns on television nowadays. I mean, I don't want to, bring people down, but, there's a problem with gun violence in America. Even if someone's going to say, no, there isn't, it's bad people, still those bad people have guns. That's, the point, right? So you're not allowed to show guns on television now unless they're, laser beams or, multicolored or whatever. So, the fact that they straight up just had them shooting real guns around, I was what the fuck? Which I'm sure it happened with the gangsters as well, and I'm not sure that I mentioned it. But, there was, it was bad. I mean, it was crazy. Not bad, because, again, I'm not saying, I'm not going to sit here and say that they shouldn't have the guns in cartoons, because it's not like Jack is wielding the gun.
Mr. Pegasus would like to have a word with you, for anyone who remembers that.
Well, that's actually, that's an FCC thing. Because no matter what year they were in, because they aired that on, Channel 11, that's a network show. And in the U.S., you have to have certain standards and practices. Well, you don't have to, but they do. So that's the thing. Right? I don't say I'm not going to be a proponent for it, but you have to, they have to do this. So that's what you have to follow. Mr. Popo was even though I guess because maybe Pokemon was on, and Pokemon wasn't bigger than Dragon Ball Z, but I mean, I guess because it was on Channel 11, Jinx got caught very quickly with the whole maybe because it was also new. I say new in terms of Pokemon was newer, so Jinx got caught real quick. This looks like blackface, and then future incarnations of Jinx were done in purple, and then even Jinx herself in the anime, the original episode that she was in, Holiday Hijinks, got re-edited.
Right.
So that she was, So, point is that Jinx was taken care of immediately. Mr. Popo really escaped that from Dragon Ball Z. And from Dragon Ball, he escaped that, and I would argue maybe because of the fact that they couldn't go back and reanimate it.
Right.
The show was clearly fucking over. But you can tell how they couldn't go back and reanimate it, or, I don't know, they didn't have the right materials, or they didn't care enough to go to Toei. Something bad happened, because if anyone remembers, and I will never let anyone forget, the infamous Blue Popo scene on, Channel 11 on WBCW, where you end up fucking having Mr. Popo talking to Kami, and he's a shade of blue. But not blue over the black, someone actually, used the magic wand to change it from black to blue. No, just a blue, changed a tint on your screen-ish.
Yeah.
It was so fucking lazy, man. Anyway, point is that you can't do certain things. So nowadays, I would be shocked to see a show that has real-looking guns and people are shooting them and they're not lasers, especially in a future where you would assume that they would all be lasers anyway. So I was there's going to be lasers, even though they look like guns. And then they just shot them, and I was like, holy shit, those are firearms. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was shocking to me. That's what I'm saying. Just compared to what you can do on television today. Yeah, that's what I meant. I didn't know if that struck odd to you, but because I know back in the day you could, do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
That you kind of, yeah.
I mean, it feels like the biggest transition I ever usually saw with like cartoons and the humor and like certain things you did or didn't do. Like, yeah, older cartoons were not as afraid, I guess, at least to me. What I watched and what I grew up with, they weren't as afraid to show a little more quote unquote violence, I suppose you could call it, like, just getting hit or, like you said, having guns or, stuff like that. As opposed to later on where, I don't know, a lot of cartoons started to develop this kind of like toilet humor, I want to call it, like, like, I'm not gonna lie, like fart jokes were always a thing, but there was something I saw as a kid. Well, not as a kid, but it was like I was a few years older, so maybe middle school, high school, and there was just this character on screen who just suddenly started vomiting, and I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. It was just like, do I really want to see that? Like, thanks.
Are you talking about Family Guy?
No.
Because that's the only thing I can think of.
No. I would laugh if I actually use that as an example. No, that is by no means.
Yeah, because you can't, because it's not for children.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I don't want to make this into like a back in my day kind of thing, because let's just talk, I want to just talk about Jack mostly, but I just think that, look, man, if it sells, right? Like people complain about Teen Titans Go, but guess what? If no one watched Teen Titans Go and everyone hated it as much as everyone says, oh, everyone must hate it because I hate it. Well, no, but it's not just you. A lot of people dislike it, and it's like, well, if everyone disliked it just like you guys did, and you guys were the majority, it wouldn't be on the air. Like if under 4 million people were watching it, I don't know the ratings now, but I know they've canceled shows for under 4 million. So if 3 million, 2 million people were watching it, 1 million, they would cancel the fucking show. Even though it's very cheap to animate, they wouldn't keep it going. So I understand. People are like, oh, I don't like the humor, not just based on the fact that it's, it's not a sequel to Teen Titans that I wanted. Also, the humor isn't something that's my cup of tea, right? That's what people will say. And I'll be like, fair point. But if it was really as bad as you say it is, then it definitely, on a mass scale, then it wouldn't be on television.
Right.
Right. In the same way that Jack was clearly so fucking good. Not only was it award-winning, but people were watching because they could have canceled it at any point.
Right.
And they didn't, and it went strong, and it's and it's a lot better than that show, mind you. I'll say that
it's
much.
Coming back.
Yes, that's how good it is.
Next week.
But yeah, it'll be Samurai Jack
baby.
Go.
I will murder you in cold blood.
Jack will be funny and goofy, and the Scotsman he'll be normal.
Oh, he's the mellow one.
He's the mellow one. That's what I'm saying. He's mellow, and Jack will just be like, woohoo, hoo-hoo, yes. Oh, Japanese, yes. Oh man, would you like some sushi?
That's
it. I just got Tristan mad. Yeah, Scotsman came back.
Any episode with the Scotsman is always a good time.
Yeah.
And I just love how it opens up. Like, I always feel like any episode that opens up with Jack in, like, a tavern or, restaurant or whatever you want to call it, and he's just having a cup of tea or he's eating, it's like, oh, this is going to be good. Because it always inevitably turns into a bar fight because the bounty hunters will walk up and be like, hey, that looks awfully like the guy in this poster, and Jack's just like, all right, what do you got?
Yeah, basically.
Can I at least finish my dumplings? All the guns come out. Well, all right, fine. You asked for this.
Basically, what I think I enjoy the most about this show is, and I'm pretty sure I haven't said this before, I love how it, and no one ever says these two phrases in a nice way, but yet I can with Samurai Jack. The first is just throw anything to the wall and see what sticks. That's the first thing. And again, that's a positive in this case. And 2, it's a clusterfuck. It's so hard to use those positively. No, because of the thing, it's just like, no, because here's the thing, right? It's like, okay, we're in the future. What are we going to do? We're going to have Spartans, all right? And who are they going to fight? Robots. And I'm like,
Minotaurs.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, you're going to fucking do that, and I'm going to fucking watch. I'm going to love it. That's what I'm saying. Like, no,
but
like, it's just like,
still in the future because we're going to give the Spartans robot spears, rocket spears.
Exactly. No, yes, rocket lances, and that's the thing, man. It's just like, oh, hey, we're gonna have Jack meet Scotsman and his clan of Scotsmen, and then what's gonna happen next? Well, Scotsman have to save his wife. Oh, okay, that's nice. Yes, from demons.
They have to fight Celtic demons. Oh, okay, that sounds like really mystical. They're fucking robots. But they're they are led by what would kind of pass as possibly Satan. Or at least a, pretty top tier demon. But, whatever.
It's, what I love so much? I love that, like, I guess, like, maybe because of the fact that Tartakovsky was so good at what he did, that's why this show was given so much leeway. Because you fucking have Powerpuff Girls, and it's like, you have to call him him. And here it's just like, motherfucking leading Celtic demons. Like, the dude leading Celtic demons at least has to be him's cousin. At the very least. I mean, let's be real here. It was crazy, man. That's why I like when people say, like, oh, man, it's just a clusterfuck. It's just like, they're just throwing, anything to the wall and seeing what sticks. But it's done in such a good way here because it feels like there's these mashups that you'd never imagine happening, but then you see them and you're thinking, wow, I really appreciate this. So
and it really makes it makes it feel like each episode has something memorable about it. Like even saying like, oh, maybe that episode wasn't your favorite, but you could probably still point out like, but this stuck out into my, in my mind after, I saw it because it was just either really weird or really cool or just different,
Here's what's really fucking weird.
Okay.
I'm just learning this right now. So have you ever heard of the anime, no, I'm sorry, not the anime, the manga Lone Wolfen Club? Or Lone Wolfen Cub, sorry.
I was actually going to make note of that, but yes. I actually have a funny story. I mean, really short, but my father was a really, big fan of that series.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is actually
Are you referring to the television show? Or the manga? Because there's a manga as well that started the whole thing, I would assume. And it's actually being released by Dark Horse Comics. I didn't know that. I might check that out.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, please discuss this, though.
I think it was
Because it's also been because it's been a television
show. It was adapted
show
into films. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a manga that was adapted into films, plays, television series. So it's been around.
So he probably saw the films then.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which my dad saw. Probably the films, but he may have possibly picked up the manga. Not sure.
No. I assume if it's Dark Horse, it's probably newer. I'm
well,
just
no,
assuming.
Not the Dark Horse, but like I feel like there was a book.
I mean, maybe it was released before that as comics, back as they would back in the day.
Possibly.
But anyway, so I'm assuming he's seen the films though, because Shogun Assassin was an English compilation for some of the films, and it's hilarious because thinking of Shogun Assassin, I remember that was in Kill Bill apparently, or it was Kill Bill was inspired by Shogun Assassin, I believe. I'm pretty sure that Quentin Tarantino was a huge fan of the film. Anyway, so please tell us your fun story.
Well, so when I saw this episode with my dad, he started laughing. He's like, "Oh, I know exactly what that's from," and that, he was really happy. And he started telling me about it, Lone Wolf. And he actually found one day there was a birthday card that my dad had drawn from my mother at one point, and instead of Lone Wolf, it's a family inside joke, but bears. He usually depicted us as bears. So it's Lone Bear and Cub. So my dad is the bear samurai, and I am the cub in the basket. And, it was like a Valentine's Day card, and it's, Lone Bear and Cub present a gift for Mommy-san. So it's this little cartoon that my dad drew. And, it's the whole bridge scene, just like how you see in the episode of Samurai Jack. These, unnamed assassins come up, to Lone Wolf and try to take him on, and he just tosses them into the river, tosses them aside.
Now, I want to make note, I was correct in my random assumption, where it actually was released as comic book-sized like books back in the day.
Yeah.
So your dad most definitely fucking picked those up.
Yeah.
Like, I've met your dad maybe like a total of 3-4 times. From what you've told me of your dad, he fucking picked it up.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt he picked up the comic book-sized version of Lone Wolf and Cub. And frankly, now you know what to get him for his birthday. Or Christmas.
Right?
Yeah, get the omnibuses. Anyway, so... and here's the thing, right? So I've never seen, or I've heard of Lone Wolf and Cub. I've never seen it. I know nothing about it. But I definitely thought that there was something up. Like, it was different. Like, I was like, oh, there's this assassin guy, and then there's this little kid, and he's kind of sitting next to Jack, or, like, scared with Jack. And I'm like, oh, this is cute. Like, this is where Jack learned how to be a samurai. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, looking up the episode descriptions, and I haven't looked through them thoroughly because I know what happened. Just want to make sure I got the names right. And then literally, there was an appearance by Lone Wolf and Cub, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Yeah.
No, because, like, obviously it isn't official and it isn't canon.
Right.
But it's a clear reference.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a sweet thing to have that because, you can tell that, like, without Lone Wolf and Cub, maybe there'd be no Samurai Jack.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an inspiration for the series, at least, just a little bit here and there.
Well, no, I would argue that at its core it is. And what I mean by that is, like, yes, obviously it's like Matt, he's traveling through time. He's trying to get back to his own time.
Or
but
even just
what
the
if it would have
idea
been the
of
Scotsman?
samurai. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It could have been the Scotsman trying to get back to his own time and find his wife.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? I got to be honest. I think if it was the Scotsman instead of Jack, Aku would have sent him back because he would have been fucking furious. Like, just, right? Like, think about it. Just like, oi, Aku, I'm going to take you down. And he's just like, this one again.
All I can think of is the opening episode to the series where Jack, on horseback with his father's sword, of righteousness, running into Aku's lair and screaming out the demon's name and, challenging him to a one-on-one battle. All I imagine is just the Scotsman walking in playing the bagpipes, and Aku comes out and goes, "What the hell is that?" Oh, you've got to be shitting me.
I gotta be honest. I don't think the series would have actually occurred. I think it would have been him versus the Scotsman. He would have been beating down the Scotsman, and then want to know who'd walk in? The Scotsman's wife.
Yeah.
And then Aku would
be
said,
destroyed.
Yeah. Tell the cow she cannot interfere.
What?
He would have died. Evil would have been destroyed. And peace would have been restored to the land because of the Scotsman's wife.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so talking about her, and not just her, I think overall, she and a bunch of she and a lot of other things are what I consider dated about this show.
Yeah, I could argue that.
Now,
yes.
Now, here's the thing. I think what they were trying to go for more than just making her like a mean, fat woman that's like, oh, like she's so mean and fat, and she's strong because she's mean and fat. I think they were trying to go for more like, no, like we, like I feel like there was someone on staff that was just like, no, listen, I am Scottish. I know Scottish women. Like, no, like I think they were trying to go for Scottish women, not women. You know what I'm saying? Like strong, like get punched in the face and punch right back. I'll drink you at a bar. That kind of Scottish woman. And mind you also are all Scottish men. So like, why
that.
would you not?
No,
What'd you say?
I'm just being a dick. Like I don't see why any woman couldn't be strong and drink you under the table, Matt. I mean,
Marion did, and in the first Indiana Jones film.
Yeah.
But. Yeah. Or are you being a dick because I can't hold my liquor?
I mean,
I don't know. Either way,
I didn't intend that at first, but yeah, I'll throw that in there too. Sure, why not?
All right, so you just go fuck yourself. The point is
okay.
That, look, all I'm trying to say here, all I'm really trying to say, I'm being serious though, is that I do think they were going for that rather than trying to like, because like it's hard because like with the way people have been portrayed like in older cartoons, like your first instinct is to like laugh, but then like your next is like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem like, that was the first thing. I was like, I don't know if that's right. And then later on we get Indian Taxi Cab Driver and I'm like, oh no. I'm just like, oh no. Tom Kenny, oh no. I'm pretty sure it was Tom Kenny again.
Yeah, probably.
Tom Kenny is fucking everyone in this show. Like he's like, I wouldn't be surprised if I was sitting there like, wait a minute, it was Tom Kenny doing an impression of Phil LaMarr the entire time. Samurai Jack, everybody.
Oh God.
Tom Kenny is so good. Anyway,
he's the chameleon.
But yeah, so that voice came out and I was like, oh no, Indian Cab Driver, oh no. Right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, by the way, right? Some people might be like, wait, are you telling me, you're Matt, you're from New York. You're telling me that you don't have cab drivers who are Indian, maybe even a majority who are Indian, or who are or who have an accent that might sound like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying get a guy who's actually brown to do the voice.
Right.
I know it's cheaper to have Tom Kenny do everything. It's not about him being white or not. It's about it being cheaper to get like 10 people to do everything. But this isn't like a small-time operation here. Like, if we start to dub anime, right, TG Production starts to dub anime, it's a very small operation. Right. We're going to try our hardest to be as diverse as we can, but it's a very small operation. This is Cartoon Network, dubbing over a show. Like, you don't have to be that cheap. In my opinion, you don't have to be that cheap. But again, dated. Didn't think about it. The same way that you have Jack dressing up like a woman, and at first you're like, wait, no. But what do you mean? What do you mean? Are you going to get into a trans thing, Matt? Not you personally, but like someone out there might be like, no. But he dressed up as a woman to try and escape. Yes, that was the first thing. He tried to escape. Then it kept on coming up throughout the, it was prolonged as like a joke. Like, isn't it funny how Jack is dressed up like a woman? That shit's fucking hilarious. And it's like, not really though. Now, you could argue it was funny that he looked like Alice in Wonderland or Cinderella.
Yeah.
But the idea of him dressing up like a woman isn't funny. Like you mentioned, you chuckled at him wearing stilettos. I could argue that's funny because you don't have to be a man or woman to wear stilettos. It's just Jack as Samurai Jack.
Right.
Wearing anything. Because it wasn't just – because if it was just stilettos, then I'd be like, oh, dude, that's offensive.
Right, but the fact that he looks at them and it's like, oh, they're made of wood too. Oh, they have blades for heels. Like, this is a kick-ass version of like what I always wear. But it's not like, just the store owner looks at him like, dude, do you not? All right, like that's funny though, because even the store owner's like, dude, you sure about that? And he's like, all right, I ain't gonna judge. I'll sell them to you.
But it's not even
just
just
giving them a pair for free too.
No, because my thing is, it wouldn't be funny if it was just stilettos. It would be potentially offensive. It's funny because he also tried sneakers. He tried a bunch of different. It's not like Jack had other disguises, and one of them was a woman, and then maybe because like you could argue it would be potentially offensive, but it'd be like for 3 seconds, and then he'd switch over to something else. And heck,
Right.
to be fair, yes, Jack also dressed up as like a train operator. To be fair, but it wasn't as funny. Like, oh, that guy can't be a train operator. No, it was like, like it was kind of like, oh, his fake mustache fell off, right? But no, it was more like, oh, Jack is trying to be a lady with lady parts. How fucking hilarious is that? And apples fell out of his chest. Oh my goodness. This is like, in a way, it was more funny that he was just thrown on stage and he couldn't remember his lines. So thankfully, British Tom Kenny was able to help him with his lines. I swear to God, it fucking was. I was able to help him with his lines. But no, it was. But still, it was, it just certain things. You sit back and you're like, man, we're in 2017 right now.
Yeah.
Things have changed,
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing on it. We're like, nowadays, unless it's a British TV show, you're not really going to have, like large, mean Scottish women.
Right.
But
I mean, I don't think anything in the show was meant, is obviously it's not meant to be like a gag, just straight up like, hey, look at this person, and cue laugh track.
No.
It was always
no, of course.
Yeah.
But it happens. But it happened. That's the thing. Just because it wasn't meant to be, like I know like what you're trying to say, and it's a very good point, by the way. And I think that it gets muddied sometimes, and people forget that. And also, I want to make very clear, I am not saying that Tartovsky was like, it'd be fucking hilarious making fun of trans people. Like, no, fucking,
right.
Of course not. Neither did he say, it'd be really funny making fun of large women. Oh, it'd be great if we made fun of Indian cab drivers. Like, no. However, it comes off as really awkward and bad and in poor taste when you have a white guy say, thank you, come again. And you're like, oh, God.
Right.
Oh, that hurts. It's like, well, Matt, where does it hurt? Right in the liberal. Yeah, so,
And I'd argue even for like, the Scotsman episode with his wife, it was, the evil demon that was like, oh, kill the other two and put the large woman in the pot. And then both of them, then she flies off the handle and basically destroys them single-handedly. And it's not until, they're going to leave the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that even like Jack doesn't even outwardly say like, oh, your wife is huge. Like he's thinking of it like practically, not even realizing, oh, I could have worded that better. He's just like, this is a very tiny door, and your wife is just big. It's like, I don't think we're going to fit through that. And she's just like, what? Run for it, Lenny!
Well, here's
don't
the thing,
kill
right?
Him nothing. He's a friend of mine.
That wasn't offensive because it was.
She has a nice side too. Like,
yes.
After the demons are gone, it's like, oh, come back to our house for supper. She has all the pleasantries and everything like that anyone would have.
No. Because the thing is, you're very right about the door scene. That's not meant to be offensive. What I mean is that when you're just like, oh, the demon is the one. Like the demon, you could argue is a bad person saying, oh yeah, know, she's fat. But it's still an issue when like it was written in there though. But you're right. I know what you're saying. The demon said this, therefore it's a bad thing to say that. Fair point.
Right.
Very good point.
I'm just giving it a little more context too. Like I do agree with you
course.
that some of the gags here and there, and even voice choices are a little dated, like you said.
Yeah. But one thing I definitely want
to.
Yes, of course. No, of course, and that's good to have, especially because you've watched so many more times that you can definitely recite some things better than I can. One thing I want to mention, though, is while I do love that she was powerful because you want to have good female representation in terms of power and strength, a problem that I've noticed with this show so far, so far. It'll change, I'm sure, and especially I'm sure it'll change with the newest season. But, a small, problem, quote unquote, is, and it's not this show, by the way, it just happens sometimes. She's strong, but she's large. If she was tiny, it'd be like, they're fair maiden, because she can't fend for herself.
Right.
But she's large, and Jack's like, whoa, why? Like, she's the fair maiden? Because, you think, wait, she couldn't handle them herself? And then she does, but because she's heavy. What I mean by that is, even though this is an evil character, look at Ventrix, right, from
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars. Yeah. she's tiny, but she can still fend for herself. She didn't have to be like a large behemoth, like
Right.
like a powerhouse, like this character, or I don't know why this was the first thought in my head, like Captain Alvida from One Piece,
Right.
like in her first appearance. You know,
Yeah. And
like
I mean,
you can be
you could
strong
argue
without. Yeah.
Yeah, even in the beginning of the show, granted she was Aku in disguise, but Ikra.
Yeah, that's I know. Isn't that the saddest thing? So far, the only two women that we've seen that have been powerful are his large wife, who was kind of a joke, and Aku in disguise. It's like, wait a minute.
Listen.
Other than Jack's mom, it's kind of like those are the two strongest characters we've seen thus far. Of the female persuasion.
You haven't
I'm sure that'll
technically
change.
seen her
I'm not-
fight, but yeah.
Well, no, but I assume his mom is powerful in some form or another because of the. Well, I mean, in fact, just the fact that it doesn't matter about fighting. The fact that like she protected Jack and she knew what to do and everything, and she sacrificed herself to save him, and then against Aku, I'm like, you're powerful, you're tough, lady. But we haven't really gotten any yet. And mind you, I'm not saying we need feminism shoehorned into this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that so far, right, just to, again, bring up things that are a little bit dated. We haven't had, we haven't had a strong character yet. Like, it just came to mind. I didn't have it planned out. It just came to mind like, interestingly enough, we haven't really had a strong female character yet. I'm sure that will change, right?
Yeah.
But I can't really think of any
it does.
off the top of my head. Yes, and also, to be very fair, this is a show that's aimed at younger boys, an action show, so they don't want to, have any... Yeah, so they're not really, sadly, interested in having other, characters other than Jack being like the small, strong guy.
Right.
Yeah, I say small because, again, it seems like everything he fights against is usually quite large compared to him.
Right.
Usually. Maybe, I think the hunters were, his size. But usually, he's fighting up against, huge things.
Right.
But anyway, so but again, right? I said, oh hey, this is dated. This feels awkward, but not like and it kills the show and that's why no one should watch. No, but you should definitely think about that going in. Like, oh wow, this came out in 2002. I can tell. And then you move on. If that's something you can move on from, you move on, and then you're like, but despite that, there are so many great things about this show, and it's very cool how. They could just have such an action-packed show that I really think is for all ages. I don't think it's just a show for little boys.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that about, men and women because, I know some women that have watched the show as well when they were younger. But I think it's just crazy how, a show like this, I really, you mentioned watching the show with your dad. I think it's just perfect for that, right? This is a great family show.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to I should ask you before we kind of try to wrap things up a little bit. I want to ask, what was your favorite episode?
It's funny. It was hard in the first season for me to pick a favorite episode. It's even harder now for me to pick a favorite episode. But I
would like to mention. Another. I already thought you might think, Matt, did you already mention your favorite? But then I remember Jack and the Ultra Robots, which that definitely felt like. If you're going to tell me that Jack versus the manga wasn't Power Rangers, Jack and the Ultra Robots definitely felt like something out of Power Rangers. Anyway, but please keep talking.
Yeah, that's funny. The actual title is Jack and the Ultra Robots.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. For me, they never really had a name, so I always thought of them as just I always thought assassin bots, and it's right, probably couldn't use that, I guess. But I mean, we have Dimongo the Soul Collector, so.
Yeah, it's very hard to shorten assassin robots because then it'd be
True.
ass bots.
Yeah,
and
Ultra
I can't
Robot
do that.
is yeah.
Jack and the ass bots.
God damn it. Oh God.
You were saying?
So my favorite episode, if I had to pick one, I would probably have to go with the Imukandi Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a powerful episode for me because it showed that there were still warriors with an honorable code like Jack. Like, I would say they were, on the same level that he was in terms of skill and, just in a mentality too. Like, yeah, they're renowned hunters on their own world. And they hunt to survive. They're like lion people basically, but
yeah.
They, at the very, Aku comes and tries to use them for his own personal gain. It's like, oh, so I have this, very powerful warrior that's running rampant on my world. I want you to hunt him down. He even's like, oh, and I will make jewels rain from the heavens onto your lands forevermore. Yeah, like Hollywood.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
even they look up at him and be like, we don't have any use for this shit. It's like, we have our own code. Just let us hunt him. That's what what we do. And Aku's like, all right, I don't have to pay you for it. Fine. It's like, no, you don't get it, man. You just don't get it. And the fact that they let him go at the end of it, or even before that, when they capture him by surprise, and they're like, wow, this was easy. He wasn't worth our time. It's like, Aku can have his prize. And Jack's like, excuse me? It's like, I will not be delivered to Aku like some kind of animal. And then the chase, ensues.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that these creatures have the guts to look Aku in the eye and say, no, he has given us one of the most, fulfilling hunts that we've ever had in our lives. That is part of our way. He has earned his freedom. Even Aku screams at them like, you fools, I will take what is mine. And they're like, no, you will not.
Yeah.
And they just disappear.
Yeah, two things you reminded me of that I really enjoyed. First off, the fact that Jack was captured in a show where Jack is usually the end-all, be-all, alpha, omega, supreme, no, because he's basically like Batman in that sense, right? Like, he's been trained by, I think I mentioned that last time we did Samurai Jack Season 1. He's trained by all these different masters and everything, so he's essentially become Batman. But I enjoy that. What?
The Batter Eye.
Yes. I wanted to make something funny, and I'm like, nope, that's just, yes. So
I just derailed the fuck out of you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But anyway, so because he's become this, alpha, like this basically god, this OP character, I like that he was able to be captured because it's very reminiscent of something like, like a series like Dragon Ball, right? Where like, hey, you might, Goku, you might think you're the strongest, but please remember. And then you throw something else at him. Some people, like, I know that it's kind of become a trope where it's like, the problem is that you just kind of, you think you're the strongest. Well, actually, I am the strongest. Oh, no, and it happens every arc. But still, I do think that it's a good plot device in terms of, hey, everyone's like, you think you're the best at your job, let's say, right? Well, maybe you're not, right? Step up your game. You have to be better. So I like that for once it really felt like Jack just didn't come out looking like the coolest dude in the room. Like, he tried his hardest. But, yeah, they are 4 hunters from the future that are literally like their culture is going out and hunting big game, hunts, not necessarily killing them, but hunting. And that's their code. Like, that's how ingrained it is in them. They have a moral code, something that Aku has never followed, and that's why he doesn't understand how, like, because you were mentioning he just doesn't get it because he doesn't have a code like that. He's just like, wait, but I take what I want. Like, maybe that's his code. I just take what I want. Like,
yeah, pretty much. Power is the only thing that, as well, and even evil tyrant, demon spirit, power is kind of the only thing he cares about. Yeah. And another thing I want to mention as we wrap this up, I really enjoyed how this basically became like a bit like Supernatural used to be. I don't remember Supernatural, Monster of the Week, where in Season 1, it was heavily like, just like we talked about how in the first half of Clone Wars Season 1, it was heavily Grievous, right? And, a lot of Grievous stuff. So in Season 1 of Samurai Jack, it was heavy Aku. Of course, you have to establish who Aku is and how much he's going to fuck with Jack eternally. But in this season, while Aku is around, I feel like it wasn't
as like there was some fuckery going on where it's like you can't jump. Oh,
Yeah.
you learn to jump, and I was like, this is great.
Honestly, that's probably one of the most iconic scenes out of the whole series for me. Is just Aku coming out and swiping the portal again. It's like, this portal is forever again out of your... You can fly? No, jump good. Oh, God.
That was a great end. That was a great end to the first episode of season 1. That's what I was saying. Like, it was a great way to ease people in. And another thing, too, I think I like about Samurai Jack is some episodes really start off like, oh, God, they're going to teach him how to jump good. And then by the end of it, it's like, if you aren't happy with him saying, no, jump good, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not
You're
saying
not happy
it's
with that,
award-winning.
then get the fuck out.
Yeah, I'm not saying that episode was award-winning. I don't think that episode actually got nominated for any awards. But it's just, no, some did.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying it. Like,
Right.
Samurai Jack is an award-winning television show. That's why I'm like, or at least award-nominated.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they won.
Right.
But the point is that I don't think the episode got nominated for anything. However, I'm not saying it's award-winning. I'm just saying that, like, I feel like you should, like, at least, like, your mind can be changed, right? It starts off with, like, oh, that's, jump good. But then a show like Jack, at the end of the episode, you're like, oh, yeah, taught him how to jump good. That was nice. Right?
Yeah.
But still, I really like the Monster of the Week concept because you kind of had to back away from Aku a little bit, especially because they knew we're going to do 4 seasons. You have to back away because you don't want people to get tired of Aku, or it feels like even though Jack is so good, he's incompetent because of the fact that he can't catch up to Aku, or he can't kill him. Or now I know it's like, well, Aku's demon lord of all. Like, of course he's going to be strong. Like, it's not a problem for Jack to lose to Aku. Yes, I understand that. But still, after a while, same thing with like Grievous. And Grievous isn't lord of all, to be fair. But still, you kind of sit back and you're like, really? They can't capture Grievous? Are you fucking serious? Right? So then what do? They don't show Grievous as much. They show other, fights and other generals and other people turning on other people. And this is Clone Wars, of course. So, you do this for the second half of season 1. And by the way, we've also podcasted on Clone Wars, obviously, on our Star Wars Wednesdays podcast. So that's when you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's cool. You can back away from it. You've introduced them enough. Now, let's be cool on that a little bit. We'll get back to it later.
Right. Yeah, like a good example here is, the Ultrabots and Damongo. Aku kind of stepping back from the front battle because Aku doesn't want to fight Jack yet. He's even said, like, we will fight, when I deem fit. Obviously, when I know that, without a shadow of a doubt, I can destroy you and your enchanted blade. Meanwhile, I'll just throw out my minions at you. Even like Damongo and the Ultrabots, like they really got close to defeating Jack.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a point, Jack's even on the run from the Ultra Robots, and he's like, I don't know if I can beat them. It's like I can't cut through them. Like my sword is kind of my end all be all. If that's not going to work. I'm kind of out of options here.
Batman can't kung fu. Well, I'm dead.
Well, yes, Matt. If the sword can't cut through the metal, I'm sure if he kicked him in the face, that would work just as well. You goddamn it, fucking Tristan. I'm literally saying if Batman, the real Batman. I see.
Can't use kung fu because, yes, Batman has tech. Batman heavily relies on tech nowadays, but at the core, Batman knows how to kung fu the fuck out of anything. So if Batman can't kung fu, he's fucked.
Kung fu the fuck out of anything.
It's true.
Oh man.
What?
Can you please make that a shirt?
I'll consider making it a shirt, and if it's made a shirt, it'll be on our main website, which is actually tgproductions.net/merchandise, or thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com/merchandise. You can find merchandise that we've already had and have there, but if it's ever a shirt, that's where you'd find it, or on our eBay Those Guys Radio.
So you should be
happy.
Yeah,
you did. Yes, eBay Those Guys Radio. Yes, it is. All right, so. But no, I really do like the Monster of the Week aspect. I really do.
Yeah.
Because, I don't want to mention Power Rangers again, but we're ending it, so I don't give a fuck. That's basically, where you see it a lot, not just in something supernatural. You see it there usually. And I enjoy it, right? Because it's not like we didn't have villains last season, but it definitely felt heavily Aku. Like, if you want to make up a new word, Akuified. Or Akufied. Just Aku.
Right.
All up in everything. Like, literally. Like, it'll just be, like Jack will have a rash on his back. And I'll be like, this rash is really frustrating. You thought it was a rash, samurai. Like, Aku, why are you my rash? Do not make good questions. Because that's a good question. Let's be real. But seriously, though, yeah, like, if Aku would be everything.
Right.
Like, Jack sneezes. I think I have allergies. No! The pollen was Aku. Why were you pollen? I told you about the questions.
I can be anything. I am everything, samurai.
No, literally. Oh, man, the water is too hot. You thought it was water. What the fuck? Like, why? At one point, Aku's like, really, though? The water was red and green? You didn't just wonder? Like,
well, I mean,
I thought it was futuristic water.
Right. It's an interesting idea because even Aku can, put his essence, his own essence into other beings. As you saw with the Ultrabots, like they're literally powered by evil. It's like it wasn't just like the oil flying out of the Beetleborg bots, this time. It's like, no, that's actually Aku's essence. And Jack even realizes, X-Tor. X-Tor. Because that, oh God, he felt like such a Dexter's Laboratory reference. Just his design
he was
and
fun.
the scientist.
Yes.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
High five.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
High five. I don't understand. Never mind. It's okay. He high-fives him at the end.
Because you forget sometimes how out of place Jack is, even with things that are commonplace. You're like, of course Jack can't deal with flying cars. Yeah, but he also doesn't know what a high five is. Right,
and those are like really nice little things here and there that they sprinkle throughout the series. And it's so funny when it happens. And even, on the reverse end, because, the gauntlet that Jack is using, that X-Tor gives to him to be able to cut through the Ultrabots, it loses power, and he's like, oh, no! And Jack's basically just, he's watching him. It's like, Jack, what are you doing? Do something! And he's basically like, look, I know I don't ask for a lot, but ancestors, if you could really help me out right about now, that'd be great.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks.
Clouds open up. We got your back. That was really cool for me. But like someone like X-Tor, like people in the future, they wouldn't understand that. They're like, what? How did what? What just happened?
Exactly. I think I said this on the show like earlier in the episode. Not sure if I said it on the show or if I said it to you before we began, but I really like in the season finale how we had Jack find these Japanese people that look up to him. Not just because a lot of the younger generation looks up to him, but I think it's just nice to know that I know humanity exists technically because obviously there's the Scotsmen and there's Spartans, but we haven't seen other minorities really. So, it's nice to know that fucking Asian people made it. I know that sounds terrible, but I'm being dead. You can laugh at it, though, because, it's kind of
no, it's kind of
because you're kind of
serious in a sense. Because Jack's home in the past is supposed to, basically be a representation of Japan. And, it looks like Aku, but not to say that they're the only Japanese kingdom in the past or something like that, but Aku destroys what you assume is Jack's home, his world. It's leveled. And, even that, one of the episodes, Jack remembers the past when he finds his childhood home, and it's just in ruins. That's all that's left. It's just ruins. Like, that was another episode that really hit me hard. That's where the lone wolf and cub reference is from, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He even sees towards the end, the spirits of his mother and father, or what seems to be. And, he's like, I'm glad I'm home, but this is not the way I wanted to return, obviously. But, all the people that he's left behind, it's like they're still there in a sense. It's like, we will always be here. But, our time is gone, but we will always, we will live on through you. And then at the end, when another, being comes running over the hills, like, help, there's danger, I'm on fire, please help me.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, he stops for a second and looks at the ball, but he just keeps it with him, and he immediately runs out after them. And it's just his mother and father looking up, and it's like, there's no dialogue, which is, a trademark in this series, but it's like, it's so nice because the emotion is already set. Like, they're looking on, it's like, that's our son, I'm proud of our son, He's going to help those who cannot help themselves, and he will, destroy the evil that has laid waste to us and not let it come to anyone else.
Yeah.
And it was a very powerful moment. I teared up during that episode. Holy crap.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, it was a very nice episode, and that was very touching of an episode, and I just really enjoyed the show, and I think that it can only get better from here, so I worry. Because, I'm hope it hasn't peaked in season 2, which is funny. I think something I'll say amazing that's about this show is I never say season 2 is better than season 1, potentially. That usually never, no, because usually season 1 is where either everything good is, depending on the show, or where, because it's a new concept to you, right? A new concept to you, and this is psychologically proven, new things come off as better because they're new. Then when you get used to them, they just become worse, and you can't really tell why. So there's certain shows where you're like, is season 2 really bad? And you're like, I don't think it is, but there's just something that isn't as magical as season 1.
Right.
Right? So, but in this show, it's the exact opposite, where I was like, season 1 had its magic, but season 2 is where it's really hitting its stride.
Yeah.
And I just cannot wait for season 3 at this point.
Yeah. And that's what I mentioned about the series earlier. There's always there's good things sprinkled throughout each season. Each season has its really cool moments and really nice ideas. And I feel like that just carries out throughout the entire series,
Yeah, I'm thinking looking around, what's maybe Jack is Naked is the weakest episode. It could be Jack's Tales, but holy shit. It got a lot of stuff happened in there. When the family that feeds on metal, I was like, oh my god. So I think maybe Jack is Naked is and it's funny too because despite all the stuff that I said that was in Jack is Naked, that I'm like, that's dated. Some stuff is dated in a good way, where when they were like, he's you can say it, a cat burglar. I was like, at that moment, I was like, I think this might be my favorite episode. And also the way the episode was scored, too. I think the music was amazing. And definitely was trying to go for an old-timey, more like a Benny Hill kind of feel.
Yeah. There's references and echoes to, Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, and the Benny Hill Show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was just supposed to be the really weird episode. I feel like each season has one of those that's just this is weird. And but that's the king of weird episodes. Even the title, it's just excuse me?
Yeah, right? What? Jack's what?
What?
Yeah. All right, then. So I think we're going to wrap things up here. I want to thank you all for listening in. As always, this was a lot of fun. I really love doing this show. And next week we'll be doing Season 3, so that'll be a lot of fun. So, again, thank you all for listening in as always. I already mentioned our merchandise, which is on our main website, tgproduction.net/merchandise, or you can get it through our main website, but another entry is tgproductions.com. tgproductions.tumblr. No. Tristan, what are you doing to me?
No.
Tristan, what are you doing? What matters is that I'm blaming
It
Tristan
was
for no
I,
reason. That's my fault.
Samurai.
Damn it, Aku, no. I messed with your brain. He's literally in his brain. You could just kill me like a tumor. I did not think of this. Like, and by the way, those guys on the radio.tumblr.com. Those guys on the radio.tumblr.com/merchandise. Literally, tgproductions.net comes up once, and that completely throws off those guys on the radio.tumblr.com/merchandise in my head. Anyway, damn you, Aku. Also, if you want to follow not only our podcast, by the way, we also do Let's Plays as well and other YouTube skits. So if you want to follow those, you can actually go to our Facebook, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, our Twitter, which is @ThoseGuysRadio, and our Instagram, which is also /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio. And if you want to catch our Let's Plays, you can go on our YouTube channel, Those Guys Play. We're currently in a Those Guys Play Season 3 hiatus for the next month of March, but you can still watch some of our old episodes where Tristan and I have actually played Disney's Dinosaur on the show, like Those Guys Play Season, I believe it was Season 1, where we played Disney's Dinosaur. No, Season 2. We played Disney's Dinosaur and Red Steel. Season 2. Yeah. Season 1 is where you and I actually played Hot Wheels Turbo Racing and Pets Crazy Monkeys and Luigi's Mansion. We played Luigi's Mansion for a Halloween special, and we've been continuing it ever since. So we're doing Luigi's Mansion. You and I also played for Season 3, actually. Tristan and I played we played Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And now that's in its own show called Those Guys Play Dragon Ball Z, which you can also, again, catch those episodes on our YouTube, Those Guys Play. And I think that's all. Oh, no, we actually played Poltergeist, Pixelated Horror. I think, unless you can think of another game, Tristan, I'm pretty sure those are all the games we've played.
I think so, yes.
All right. And, of course, many more to come, so definitely check that out on our YouTube. You can also check out our podcast. I'm assuming you're listening to it right now through our Blog Talk Radio account, which is Those Guys on the Radio, but you might also be listening to us through our iTunes, which is you can search up Those Guys on iTunes to find our older podcast. We've been doing this for like 3 years now, 500-plus episodes, and still going strong. And you might be listening to us through our YouTube channel, listening to our old podcast through there, which is actually Those Guys on the Radio. So you can search that up and find our YouTube channel as well. We also have a Patreon account as well. You can look up TG Productions and find our Patreon, which, depending on what tier you donate to, you can actually help us with funding our Blog Talk Radio, getting other games and other systems or modifications to systems to bring you even more Let's Plays. And, right, you can get something too. Not just getting us playing these games or whatever they might be, based on the modifications or whatever it might be, you can also actually suggest a podcast for us to do. So you can say, hey, we would like you to do this podcast, not just on a show. So not just, oh, hey, get Samurai like Jack Season 3 quicker to me, right? Not just something like that. It could be like, hey, what are your top 5 action cartoon shows of all time? And we can do a podcast on that. It doesn't have to be content. It can also be concepts. And when it comes to our Let's Plays, you can just tell us what game to play. Just, hey, play this game for an episode, guys, and do it with this host. And we'll try to, get that down, because it can be any game, any host, any combination of hosts, and it can be a lot of fun. Also, depending on what tier you donate to, you can actually get a shout-out from us and be an official sponsor on our podcast or on our Let's Plays. So that's cool, too. So, again, thank you all for listening. As always, love that you guys are here, and hope you have a good night, and hope you have a lot of fun, because we actually did. This was fun. So, good night, guys. Say good night, Tristan.
Good night, everyone.